Dear students, welcome to the basic science class. Look at the pictures. We know that nature is so beautiful. The sceneries at the time of sunrise is more beautiful. This world is filled with light. Can you imagine a world without light? If the world is devoid of light, we can't see this beautiful world, right? So light is essential for our life. We can enjoy the beauty of nature through our eyes. Imagine a dark room. Can you see anything in that dark room? No. So, the light plays an important role in our vision. When we see an object, light plays a key role in it. Come, let's understand what are the peculiarities of this light. Okay. You may see the path of light in several occasions. When light enters into a dark room, the path of light appears. Likewise, the same way when a vehicle's light is turned on at night, the path of light is seen on the road. What is the peculiarity of light we can see there? Yes, the light travels in a straight line. Let's perform an experiment. Take 3 pieces of cardboard and a candle. Make a hole in the center of the cardboard pieces. Arrange these cardboards in such a way that the flame of the burning candle is visible through the holes. By moving these cardboards to either sides, you can repeat this experiment. We can find that whenever we move these cardboards, light beam disappears. When we arrange the holes of these cardboards in a straight line connecting the light source, we can see the light or the candle is burning. Why this happens? Because light cannot pass through the cardboard. Light can pass through the hole only. So when the hole closes by this cardboard, light cannot reach our eyes. That is why light beam is seen when the holes are in a straight line. Okay, now it's the time for our first activity. That is activity number 1. Write the experiment note to prove that light travels in a straight line. Light travels in a straight line. We know that. So write the experiment note to prove that light travels in a straight line. You should include the aim, materials required, procedure, observation and inference in this experiment note. Okay. Now we came to know that light travels in a straight line, but light cannot pass through the cardboard. Is there any other substance like that? Let's do another experiment. Take a torchlight, glass piece, cardboard and oil paper. Oil paper can be made by spreading 1 drop of oil on a normal paper. Our experiment can be performed at night. Switch on the torchlight to the wall. Place each substance between the wall and torchlight. Observe the change when glass is placed in between torch and the wall. What is the change when cardboard is placed in between? What will happen when oil paper is placed in between the two? Let's repeat the experiment with different objects. Here comes our activity number 2. Activity number 2 consists of 3 questions. The first question, give examples for objects that pass light through it. Give examples for objects that pass light through it. And the second one, give examples for objects that do not pass light through it. Give examples for objects that do not pass light through it. Give examples for objects that partially allows light to pass through it. The third question is, give examples for objects that partially allows light to pass through it. Okay, this is the second activity. From the experiment, we can understand that glass is a substance that can pass light through it. And the second one is cardboard, which cannot pass light through it. And the oil paper partially allows light to pass through it. So, try to do the experiments and tabulate your results in 3 columns under glass, cardboard and oil paper. Okay. We perform 2 experiments. The first experiment is with 3 cardboards placing in a straight line facing a lighted candle. From that experiment, we can understand that light travels in a straight line. Secondly, we perform another experiment with a torchlight that light towards a wall. From this experiment, we can understand that certain objects can pass light through it. Certain other objects that cannot allow light to pass through it. There are a third type of objects that partially allows light through it. These are the points that we have studied earlier. Okay. From the experiment, we understand that glass is an object which allows light to pass through it. These types of objects are called transparent objects. Transparent objects. Glass is an object which allows light to pass through it. These type of objects are called transparent objects. Whereas certain object which does not allow light to pass through it, like wooden objects, steel and other metals. These type of objects are called opaque objects, where opaque objects does not allow light to pass through it. Then there is a third category, certain objects like oil paper, which allows partially light to pass through it. These objects are called translucent objects. So there are 3 types of objects. First one is transparent, which allow light to pass through it. And the second one is opaque, which does not allow light to pass through it. And the third one is translucent objects, which partially allows light to pass through it. Okay, so we understand that about transparent, translucent and opaque objects. In Malayalam we call it as Sutaryam, Atharyam, Arthatharyam. So let's do our first activity. Activity number 1. Classify the objects into 3 categories. Which are the 3 categories? Transparent, translucent and opaque. Spectacles, steel vessel, pure water, leaf, coconut oil, plastic chair, cloth, cardboard, hand lens, tissue paper and oil paper. These are the objects that you have to classify into 3 categories. Okay. So you have to classify these objects as transparent, opaque and translucent. Then if all the materials become transparent, what will happen? If there is no opaque objects, what will happen? Clothes are always opaque or transparent, right? If cloth is a transparent object, what will happen? The light rays can pass through it, so we can see what is inside, right? So how can we make dresses? If clothes are transparent, there is no use of dresses at all, isn't it? Then think about your rooms. If the walls are transparent, what will happen? Our privacy will completely lost, right? So opaque objects are needed for our daily life. Then what about transparent objects? Is they needed for our daily life? Where we use glasses, in our spectacles, windows, automobiles, buildings, and aquariums, crockery items, that means plates, vessels, etc. In lab or laboratories, we all use glass vessels. Okay, so these opaque objects, transparent objects, all are needed to our daily life. So here comes our next activity, activity number 2. Write the uses of transparent and opaque objects. So you have to write the uses of transparent and opaque objects. So we can conclude that these transparent and always also opaque objects are useful to us. They are needed. Then let's consider the previous experiment that we have performed with the torchlight. Previous class we performed an experiment with torchlight to find out transparent and opaque objects. In that experiment, when a wooden object placed in front of the torch, what will happen? You can see the shadow behind it. If a piece of glass is placed in front of the torch instead of wooden object, is there any shadow? So, which type of objects make shadows? Transparent or opaque? I will not tell the answer. You should do that experiment with light source, any light source like torch, mobile torch or lights. Okay. Then find out which type of material, that is transparent or opaque, make shadows. Then you can also observe the change of shadows when you move the light source towards the object and away from the object. Try to observe the change when the light source is closer to the object, and what will happen? When it is away from it, you can also observe the thickness or sharpness of the shadow. When the shadow becomes thicker or blackish, when the light source is closer or away from it. When it is thin or not as much dense. Try the experiment in your home as your own. It's as simple. There is no need of any particular material or specialized materials. You can do it with any light source, and your wall of your room can make the laboratory for this experiment, right? It is so simple, so you should have to do that experiment in your home. Okay, now let's think about activity number 3. Which type of objects made shadows? First question is, which type of objects made shadows? And second question, when the shadows becomes bigger? And third question, when the shadows become smaller? And the fourth question, when the shadow becomes dense or more blackish in appearance. Okay, these are the 4 questions you have to answer after your experiment. Okay, now let's think about a game. Yes, a game. We can make the shadow figures using your hand and fingers in wall. Try to make it differently and creatively. Share these shadow figures that you make with your friends. Share those videos to our class group and enjoy together. Okay, I'm also share a video. Try to observe it and make your own ideas. It will pave a way to your creativity. Okay, so you should have to perform these 2 things. The first one is an experiment with torchlight to answer the activity number 3. And the second one, you should make shadow figures with your hand. Okay, it's so easy and enjoying. Okay. You can also observe the shadows of objects made by sun time to time. The peculiarity of shadow at morning and afternoon. There is a change. What will be the reason? Find it out. Okay. You should have to find out the answer for the change of shadows made by sun. Okay. That's enough for today. Rest in the next class. In the previous class,